Hello and welcome to the Evercade Retreat. My name is Gene Jake and this is my full review of the Toaplan Arcade Collection Volume 4. Now, I did a preview video of this when it was announced, so as a result this video may be a bit more brief and bare bones in comparison to my Toaplan 3 arcade review. Anyway, might as well get straight on to it. First up, as in my least favourite game on the collection, is Sky Shark. This is the NES port, which is obviously a console port and the one game that isn't an arcade game on the collection. It's not a bad port of the arcade game, which obviously was Flying Shark, but in comparison to the arcade version, which is on Toaplan 1 I believe, it's not great. Got some music by Tim Follin, I think it is, and again that's pretty good. And well, other than that, hitboxes aren't particularly great. It feels more challenging than the arcade version, especially with some of the bullet colours, speed and everything. Yeah, I found it frustratingly challenging in some places. I found myself dying and, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't have. But again, maybe that's a skill issue. But again, those hitboxes, they're definitely bigger than your plane is. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one, to be perfectly honest. Not when I can play the arcade version. And next up we have Pippi and Pippies, also known as Whoopee in Japan, I believe, and it's a slightly naughty, risque game if you like, although here on Evercade it is very mild, and ultimately it adds nothing to the gameplay, and many people have already mentioned about this in their reviews and overviews of the cart, so I won't bother going into it any further. It's there, you can ignore it, or not, as you see fit. The gameplay itself is okay. It's a single screen platformer. You go upstairs and use elevators or trampolines, and you have to go around, plant a bunch of bombs and get to the exit before they all explode. It's fine. There's a puzzle element of getting them into a sensible order and avoiding the enemies or zapping them until they drop to other levels. And if you do it in the wrong order, you could find it very hard to reach the exit in time, in which case you've got to start the level over again. If you continue, the user continue that is, it will be starting without the bombs that you've already placed. Although if you just die, then they'll still be in place. It's a fine little game. It's okay, and if you're doing it as a score chaser or in a competition and really maximising the score and the bonuses you can get, you can have some fun with it. But ultimately it's one I didn't really feel all that compelled to play. Well, maybe that's where the naughty elements are supposed to come in, but honestly these days, anyway, it's okay. From this point forward, I think everything is pretty solid to some degree or another, and I think really what your preferences or ranking might be, well, it would depend on your preferences and what games you like. For myself, I would have to put Knuckle Bash next. It's the Toaplan side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's a little bit different from your typical Capcom or Konami beat-em-ups. Smaller arenas, and it's got a bit of a wrestling theme, and yeah, it's perfectly fine. And one noticeable difference from other beat-em-ups is usually when you do a punch or a kick in these games, you stop moving as you punch, where in this you can just keep on walking and keep on punching. There's a few little special moves and there's a variety of characters, and all fairly standard stuff for a side-scrolling beat-em-up. You've got nice big bold graphics, decent music, and it's perfectly serviceable. It is a good beat-em-up. Perhaps not my favourite. I found further into the game the enemies, maybe it's a skill issue on my part, it just found they were a bit tanky and I was just continuing my way through, and maybe one seeing this would be beyond my skills. Who knows? But yeah, I had fun with it and I think it would be a lot of fun in multiplayer, which I haven't tried yet. What I really liked is the way you get new characters as you go through, and you can start off with two scenarios. One sort of sets you further into the game, and it's a fun beat 'em up. Not the best, it's no fun or fight, but it's on par with things like 64th Street, I suppose. Again, depends on your preferences, but it's a solid beat 'em up. And moving on to the next game, and that will be Snow Brothers 2. Now, aside from the Nightmare Fuel character selection screen, because that just looks weird, they're just bizarre. I mean, it is a fun game. I had heard it wasn't that good, and I think really that comes down to it being the production being a bit rushed and certain elements being either cut short or maybe not as rounded as they might have been, because I believe it was Toaplan's last game, or one of them anyway. They rushed out the door a bit. Anyway, that's beside the point. The game itself, it's very much like the original Snow Brothers, although you have more characters to choose from, and they each vary in their abilities a bit. The net effect is they play basically the same. Their speed and movement and jump feels a bit different, and their attacks look different. There are some differences to them, but ultimately they play fairly similar. But different enough to, especially when you play multiplayer, then it makes them stand out. The gameplay is largely the same as the original Snow Brothers, although there are some levels which mix things up a little bit. It's bonkers. It's a fun elimination platformer if you like these. I know some people are feeling a bit sick of them because there's quite a few of them on Evercade, but then there's a lot of shoot 'em ups as well, and I guess it's down to your preference of type of game. This is a good one, not the best. I didn't think Snow Brothers was the best elimination platformer on Evercade either. I'm much more of a Tumble Pop or Rodland guy, but definitely better than the ones you got in the Pico Arcade collection. Perfectly fun game, multiplayer, you can have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, an absolutely solid elimination platformer that seems to have some nice touches in its form of your risk reward for getting your points. And ultimately, yes, you can continue credit feed your way through this game to see it, which is what I've done for this review, but you'll have more fun with it doing a single credit run and trying to max out your score. Or at least I think it will. It does get quite challenging and there's a few annoyances with it. Overall, it is a really good game that's better than that character selection screen would imply. Okay, and next up we get onto the two shoot 'em ups on the collection. The first of which is Grindstormer. Now, this was a close call as to which one I prefer, and ultimately Grindstormer came second. So, spoiler, Doggy Inn is my favourite game on the collection. Anyway, Grindstormer is a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up, which definitely leans into the bullet hell side of things. And I found maybe I'm not a bullet hell kind of guy. Mostly I've played more traditional shooters or your older style before the bullet hell became sort of fairly common. And yeah, I like the game. You've got some really nice graphics. The power-ups are quite fun. You get your certain missiles or your spread, and it's all pretty good. Ultimately, though, I think it's the difficulty just holds it a bit back for me. I did enjoy playing through it, and it took a lot of effort to get through the game. But yeah, the difficulty is pretty severe. As well as having your different weapon types, you also have your speed ups and speed downs. Initially, your shit is very slow. Once you speed up, it gets extremely nippy, sometimes maybe a little bit too nippy. The bosses can be really tough. Some of these bullet patterns are pretty extreme. And, let's just say it's going to take me a while to genuinely get good at this game, if I can. It is tough. Like I said, graphics and sound and music are really good. Got a great vibe to it, but the difficulty holds it back for me, which is strange considering what I'm about to say when it comes to Doggy Inn. Speaking of which, my favourite game on the collection, as mentioned, is Doggy Inn. Once again, it's a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up with some absolutely fantastic graphics. I believe they actually set out to make something visually stunning, and I think they've pretty much achieved that. And the music works surprisingly well with it. Well, actually, no, why am I saying surprisingly well? Toaplan generally do good music on their games, so unsurprisingly, the music is awesome. But speaking about the difficulty, I'd say this is probably a bit more difficult than Grindstormer overall, but also found it just that little bit more enjoyable to play. Part of this comes down to the modules you get. You can get a bomb module, but also you can get another module which allows a sort of a dash move side to side. I found that really useful. I used that pretty much throughout the game. I barely used the tractor beam function, which I found useless, to be honest. And I found once I got good at using the dash to dodge, I suppose my skill in the game, or my ability to dodge and evade enemies really increased dramatically. And that was the turning point of the game, and me finding it sort of maybe a bit too tough to really, finding the fun in it. The different weapons in it are quite interesting, although personally I found myself generally gravitating towards the orange weapon, which is your sort of flame blasts that kind of home in and get various enemies. In fact, at every opportunity I would use that weapon over the others. Although all the weapons have their strengths, although I wasn't really that keen on the purple weapon because I just found that definitely a little bit exposed a bit more often than the others. But again, having a variety of weapons and different play styles with using them, that's fine. It's also quite cool later in the game when you climb into a mech and you punch your way through a series of enemy mechs and things. It doesn't really add a huge amount to gameplay, but it's a nice little touch. There is a very distinct sort of anime influence to the visuals here. So yeah, for me, it edges out Grindstormer as the best shoot 'em up and the best game on the collection. For others may have different opinions. Like I said, preference, they are both very good games. I don't think either is as good as Truxton 2 or Batsugun from Toaplan Collection 3, but they are very strong. So taking Toaplan Arcade 4 as a whole, it is a good collection. I probably sound a bit less enthused about some of the games here, and some of them are, they're all good. Sky Shark is kind of forgettable for the reason I stated. They all have something to offer and you can have fun with them. And whatever your preferences are, if you're not a huge shoot 'em up fan, this might be a better pick for you than Toaplan Arcade 3. But not everyone loves shoot 'em ups, and Toaplan 4 has an edge in a certain respect of just having more variety of games. So it does have a bit more to offer in terms of broad appeal. To score the collection as a whole, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. And obviously I'd recommend it for anyone who's a fan of the other Toaplan collections. And for anyone else, definitely worth giving a try. So with Toaplan 4, that pretty much puts the entire Toaplan library onto Evercade. It might have been nice to have seen some of the other ports, or the Japanese version of Grindstormer called V5, but even so, we've got a great selection of Toaplan games on the Evercade, and it's worth picking them all up in my opinion. Anyway, I think I've really worn out the review aspect of this video. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm feeling a bit out of touch after being ill for a while. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with some silly song based on the games, and I'll see you in the next video.
In the depths of space, the battle cries. Grindstormers here, under endless skies, I take the helm. In the chaos, I dominate. Through the void, lasers blaze. Enemies fall in this deadly maze. Power-ups ignite the flight. Grindstormer's fury, shining bright. Grindstormer in the galaxy's roar. I fight, I soar forevermore. In the storm of fire, I rise. Grindstormer, light up the skies. Through waves of foes, I carve my path in this cosmic war. Feel the wrath, ships of steel, hearts of flame. In the grind, I stake my claim. Through the void, lasers blaze. Enemies fall in this deadly maze. Power-ups ignite the flight. Grindstormer's fury, shining bright. Grind on you hard, for I am the grinder. I am the Grindstormer. The stars, our destinies clear. Facing fear, I persevere. Through the grind, I find my way. In the storm, I'll never sway. Grindstormer in the galaxy's roar. I fight, I soar forevermore. In the storm of fire, I rise. Grindstormer, light up the skies.